Zipping it. Welcome to Creative on Purpose Live, a show about making a better living and a bigger difference by defining, developing, and delivering the difference only you can make in your life's next chapter. I'm Scott Perry, Encore Life Coach and author of The Art of Encore Living. Let's get to today's show. Jay, welcome to the broadcast. Please tell our viewers who you are, what you're up to these days, and where can people go to learn more about you and the difference you're making.
Thanks, Scott, for having me here today. My name is Jay Bhakta. I'm the founder of Base Case and Build. So over the past few years, I've been learning quite a bit about these principles and frameworks to help me make better decisions. And I was like, well, why don't I just pass this on to kids? And started this program with kids last year in July, and it's just been gaining momentum. And you get more information at basecasebuild.com.
That's fantastic. Well, I am a huge fan of the difference that you're making. As you all know, I had the great privilege and uh, thrill of presenting to a group of the kids that are in the program. You're doing a really fantastic thing, and one of the things that I always love to start off with guests is, my guess is that you didn't wake up when you were 9 years old and say, you know what I'm going to do when I grow up? I'm going to create a program for kids that will help them make better decisions in their lives. Give us a little sense of the origin story. How did you get to be doing this thing that you're doing? How did this all come about?
Yeah, definitely was not thinking about this, a few years ago. But yeah, going through life, I spent a lot. I invested in a lot of businesses, made a lot of investments, and reflecting on a lot of decisions that I made in the past, and going through and learning a lot of stuff from, the CCA program from Dan Nicholson and from Nick Peterson, watching his content. I realized what I was currently doing was not what was filling my bucket. It wasn't part of my solvable problem, what I really wanted to do in life. In order to move closer to what I really wanted, I had to make a decision and decide to move on from what I was doing. The base case and build project just fit perfectly into what I wanted to accomplish. I mean, I wanted to contribute in some way. I wanted to be more present for my kids. I wanted to, make sure they didn't make the same mistakes I made. Looking back all the investments that I made, and it just made sense. It just made, moving on and doing with something with a higher purpose. So when I rolled it out with a few kids to test it out. It went really well. It was really amazing what they were able to grasp and comprehend and apply. And then I just expanded to a wider range of kids and just kept growing from there.
And you actually, from based on what I saw, from the couple of times I've been either leading or sitting in with your group, the age range of kids is actually pretty spread out. What's the range and age that Base Case and Build is really designed to serve?
Yeah, my first cohort, I started with the older kids. So I started with ages 14 to 17, just to test it out to see how they handled it. That went really well. And I was like, well, let me expand it because I have a 10-year-old daughter so I expanded the age to 8 to 17. And it's pretty amazing because these are principles and frameworks they apply for any age. I mean, it could be adults, it could be teenagers, it could be younger kids, and it's amazing what these younger kids are able to grasp. So it's working really well, and they're all getting something out of it.
That's fantastic. You've mentioned Dan Nicholson and Nick Peterson, and viewers, regular viewers will be familiar with these names because I talk about them quite a bit in my own work. But for anyone that is not familiar, Nick Peterson is the founder of the Guardian Academy, and some of the principles that Jay is teaching and that I also use with my clients come from principles and practices that Nick teaches in the Guardian Academy and elsewhere. And then Dan Nicholson is the author of Rigging the Game, probably the book I'm recommending most these days, a book about how to define what you want and get closer to it. And I'm just wondering, we do talk a lot about the principles in both the Guardian Academy and Rigging the Game here. Is there one particular principle or practice that, let me back up. What's the common theme or the thread that you find in that wide age range? What's the primary problem that's trying to be solved, or aspiration that's trying to be achieved by the kids that are in your program?
Yeah, so I did leave out Dr. Jeff Spencer. So a lot of my stuff that I teach to kids is from Dr. Jeff Spencer as well. So I definitely want to throw that in there. So, one of the things I see from the kids is just the self-awareness that they have within themselves and what's going on around them. And sometimes it's just simple concepts and frameworks, and just having them see it and see real life scenarios and situations that how it can be applied makes a huge difference in them. But it's just the awareness. They emotionally react to a lot of things. They get easily influenced. But when they're able to take some of this and realize and take a pause and, oh, you know what? I'm not playing my game, right? That Dan Nicholson teaches in CCA, or I'm not being receptive from what Dr. Jeff Spencer teaches. So it's just them, they're them having a toolbox and recognizing that, okay, in the moment that they're not reacting properly and taking the pause and then making a change.
That's awesome. So, uh, just to back up 1 second, Dr. Jeff Spencer has been a guest on the show. Dan Nicholson has been a guest on the show. Recommend anybody that's viewing that wants to investigate their work. Those conversations are a great place to start. They're both fantastic humans doing fantastic work. What I'm hearing in your response, Jay, is you're really helping kids around this idea that we talk about in the communities where you and I collide, around self-efficacy, helping people see and step into their power over the way that they see themselves, their situation, other people, and how they can make decisions and do the next thing based on doing the next best thing that they can do for themselves, but also something that will enhance the lives of the people that are around them. Is that a fair reframe?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I take a look at what I learned from Dr. Jeff Spencer, and I kind of tell the kids, I was like, hey, in life, what you want to be doing is playing chess, not checkers, right? You need to be able to see around the corner, and you can't do that unless you create some awareness. So that's what we start with the kids, is just getting the foundations built in them, and then we expand on that and we teach a little bit further, because ultimately we want them to learn all the skills to make better decisions in business and investments. So we teach them all the entrepreneurial skills and frameworks that they teach in Rigging the Game from Dan Nicholson. But we start with the basics first, and then we build on that. So we don't just jump straight into the complex stuff, because they're not ready for that yet, and they have time.
Yeah, for sure. Building from the ground up is always a really great approach. And one of the things that I've picked up on, and I would definitely correct me if I'm wrong, or just clarify, it's not just you're working primarily with the kids, but you're not leaving their parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles out of the equation. So how is what you're teaching the kids manifesting and expressing itself in their family life, and maybe even in their life, in school and out and about with their friends?
The biggest part of the program, when and I didn't even realize it when I started, is the communication that's improved with their parents. So what we do in base case and build is, after the lessons that we teach, we task the kids. I was like, hey, go have a conversation with your parents. Go ask them about what you learned, or teach them what you learned. So now you're empowering the kids to start the conversation. And and it's not like the parents have to lecture the kids anymore, because the kids are the ones that are initiating it. And then once that starts happening, that opens up the floodgates for parents to even have deeper conversations about stuff. Because a lot of parents, really, especially high performing parents that are into self improvement, self development, they really want to teach their kids, but when they try to do it, it's just like, oh, hey, my dad or my mom is just lecturing me again. And so you just feel like it's going in one ear and out the other. But this concept of being approached by the kids has made a huge difference. And being able to get your message across, and what it's doing, it's building the foundation for them. It's building that common language for them when something does happen in the future, where it's a difficult situation or scenario that arises, they're going to feel comfortable approaching them. So we're just setting them up for a better path and better communication in the future as well.
That's fantastic. Yeah, it's such a common, I won't say complaint, but a common challenge for parents is, we can teach the things that we want to teach our children, but when they're coming from the parents, sometimes they just really fall on deaf ears or are largely ignored or, never mind the eye roll, and the slam doors. And then, but that someone else says the very same thing, or maybe just presents it from a slightly different angle, and suddenly it can really just connect with those kids. But the other thing that I'm hearing in your approach is, this idea of empowering the kids to initiate the conversation after they've learned what they learned. And so it really, in a way, sounds like it kind of flips the dynamic. So, instead of the parent trying to teach, create a teaching moment or, share some wisdom with their children, the children are actually initiating the conversation, and it almost sounds like it's going in the other direction.
Absolutely. It's funny because um, I had the same issue with my kids. I mean, I'm learning all this stuff, and I'm like, I want to, I'm teaching them, but sometimes it's just out of the blue. You're starting a conversation, and it's like, hey, where's this coming from? You know. So uh, when I teach, my kids are in base case and build, and when I teach a lesson, they'll come straight downstairs from their rooms and they'll have a conversation with me.
Mm,
So I'm using it as a tool for me to improve my communication as well. It's just the way the whole process is set up. It just works so easily and fluently.
that's awesome. And where, so folks can go to Base Case and Build to learn more, or sorry, basecaseandbuild.com to learn more about, what you're doing, and how they can become involved. Uh, and I'd like to just touch for a second on, where the conversations are taking place, because you and I are both, uh, have offerings on the Success Finder platform, and Brandon, of course, has been a guest on the show. Um, what what can someone expect when, if their child enrolls in this program? Like, what's happening, on the platform, in the calls? How often do they meet? How long does a cohort last for?
Yeah, so our community is built on Success Finder, and I'm really fortunate that I have Brandon that's really helped, uh, build a community. I build build a community that really fits everything that I need. So Success Finder has really come through for me, and not just the platform itself. Brandon's helped me a lot, just with the connections that he has through Success Finder. There's just so many, well-known, high-achieving people that are looking to do good stuff in the world, on that platform, and he's so great at connecting you with these people. So I was able to, probably half my core is based on just people that Brandon recommended and referred to me, through Success Finder, and it's the right type of clients. They are looking to do the same thing, and they believe in what you're doing. So I'm just say I'm really fortunate to have been part of the Success Finder and have my community built there. And then as far as the program, we have weekly Zoom calls, live calls where we teach a lesson. The lessons are about 45 minutes. Sometimes the kids get talking and it goes a little bit further. We try to keep it short because as far as attention span, but surprisingly, the kids want to even stay on longer than the time frame because they're just having so much fun and enjoying it. And then after the call, what they do is they just have one task for the week, which is go talk to the parents. So there's not very much time commitment. It's just maybe however long the conversations go with the parents, and then the call itself.
And so, and what's the number of weeks, or, for each cohort?
So yeah, we have a journey that we have set up for the kids. So we'll have we have our initial foundations course to get a course to get them started, and then we have a level 2 course, and then we have more advanced courses that's going to go more into the entrepreneurial and in investment side of things. So then they could learn a little deeper, and we're going to have over the shoulder activities as well. But the initial course is 8 weeks, and we cover 8 different topics, and we do keep the community together even afterwards. We have speakers like yourself that came on. That was really it's been that's been very valuable for the kids. That your three-step process that you taught the kids, we might even incorporate that into our lessons because that's what we do. We just take all this valuable stuff from all these people, coaches out there that I think that the kids will benefit from. Long as and long as I could give examples that they could relate to, I'll put that into the lessons.
Yeah, and the other I imagine another benefit that people experience, because it's all happening on Success Finder is they have access to programs by Dr. Jeff Spencer, by Nick Peterson, by, Dan Nicholson, Laurel Portier is on there as well doing, has a course on how to ethically use social media, and use it with intention and integrity, so it's a huge asset to have something like this on Success Finder because they're getting access not only to your fantastic program, but they can tap into the wisdom of the people that have informed and inspired what you and I are doing out in the world. So I absolutely love that that's all happening on Success Finder. How many cohorts have you run through the program so far? How many kids have you helped?
So we've gone through we're on our third cohort. So I've been micro stepping my way into it and just kind of building on each round. I take on more and more kids. This last cohort we had 12 kids in there. So it's going really well. It's just like the age range is 8 to 14 for that cohort that's enrolled, and they're participating. They're making comments. They say they all love it. It's just a great energy and environment, and it's just going to keep growing from there.
That's fantastic. A lot of the folks that are tuning into this conversation are people like you that are already making a difference in the world, but they would like to advance that endeavor. A lot of folks are also, aspire to kind of tap into their gift and create some sort of offering that will help make things better in the world, or help people they care about navigate challenges or achieve goals. What as you were transitioning into creating case and build, what were you mentioned micro stepping, and so I just think it would be helpful for folks to hear a little bit about you you talked about micro stepping and starting. It sounds like with something really small. What were some of the key elements in just getting your first cohort started that enabled you to do that without creating too much stress, anxiety, and effort that might make someone lesser just quit and give up and go back to what they were doing.
Yeah, just the concept I learned from both Dan Nicholson and Dr. Jeff Spencer, just slowing down, giving yourself space, and then taking small steps towards whatever you want to do. We had this big, initially you always had this big vision. You want to do something big, and you want to, and you think big, right? And the way Dr. Jeff Spencer talks about, you want to take the elevator instead of the stairs. And I made that mistake a lot in the past, but I realized that hey, I just need to slow down. Because what I initially thought I wanted to do with base case and build is nothing like what it is now.
Mm,
It's you have this vision, but you have to make adjustments along the way. But if you already create a roadmap and you say, hey, this is the way it's going to be, you are not giving yourself that opportunity to make adjustments and take into look at the other options that you might have, better options that you might have along the way. But by slowing down and only taking on a few kids in the beginning and taking on a little bit more, expanding the age range, testing out, making the adjustments, each cohort gets better, and the program gets better. So, and then, at first when I started it, I was like, this is more of a passion and a hobby. So let me just start small and it's becoming it's gaining momentum and it's growing really it's getting to a point where I'm like, okay, this is good that I could do this on an ongoing basis, and I think it's a path that I want to be in.
yeah, I love that. I mean, so what I'm hearing is you started off with the kind of the first principle that we learn in TGA is open loops. Like, instead of having a fixed mindset about what you want and what you're going to do and how you're going to achieve it, and swinging for the fences, building something big before you've even validated the idea, is to keep open loops, reserve the right to change your mind if new information comes along, and take the next smallest step into possibility with the thing you want to build, but remain open to other opportunities, and to what, to what the situation needs, as opposed to what it is that, you might, the agenda that you have going in. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. I just want to add one more thing, like just a community, just the TGA community, the CCA community. Um, just having guidance from them helps a lot. Like I remember when I ran this idea by Nick Peterson, and I told him, I was like, hey, I want to do this project with the kids. And the first thing he said is, make sure you don't create a roadmap, you know? So it all depends on how you apply it and if you actually follow the principles, or just, because it's not an easy thing to do, to slow down, to take micro steps, because you get so excited and you get so emotionally attached to this big vision. And then that's how you end up wrecking yourself when you create such a big outcome, and if things don't go your way, then it falls apart. So yeah, it helps having the guidance from everybody in, the communities that we are in, to keep you on the right track, because you always steer off path, but then you get, I mean, everybody needs it. Adults need it, kids need it. That's another beautiful thing about base case and build is, the kids have this community also now. They have their own community. They have kids that are looking to do the same thing that they are, grow as a person, do good things in the world. So that helps them stay on path as well, because it's easy to fall off.
Yeah, well, we're kind of creatures that are built to step on the gas, but most of the time we have the handbrake on still. So it's good to pump the brakes, and make sure that the handbrake is released before you start moving forward. But the other thing is, this idea that I'm sure you remember from CCA, which is the next best step is the one that has the least amount of risk, the most requires the least amount of effort, but it has the most amount of options going forward. So, and you also talked about this idea of a roadmap, which I love, because at Creative on Purpose for a long time we've been talking about, we are schooled for and occupied by following roadmaps through institutionalized schooling and occupation. The thing about roadmaps is it can only take you where someone else has been, or where someone else wants you to go. And so we talk about trying to help people develop a compass, develop and use a compass. How are you going to find your way to where you're meant to go, and be able to navigate your way around the inevitable obstacles and challenges that are going to come up with that. So I absolutely love that analogy. I don't know if that inspires any additional reflections from you.
No, I love the way you put it. The compass analogy makes perfect sense. It's so easy. I mean, like you said, that's just the way we're taught. And it becomes part of your life and becomes part of your habits, and it's hard to break.
Yeah.
So once you do, then it just opens up so many possibilities, for you when you're able to get past that.
Yeah, well, you and I were having this conversation online just a few days ago. What's if you look at the way that schooling is designed, it's really designed to teach you the rules and to give you the roadmap for the game of life that society wants you to play.
Yeah.
You know, do what you're told. Keep your head down. Do what you're told. Sit in a straight line. Raise your hand before you speak. We're going to feed you some information. You're going to spit it back out just the way we told you, and then that trains you to become a cog in whatever occupational system you decide to go in. And they reward you with bread and circuses that keep you distracted. And what we so desperately need now more than ever is what you're doing at Base Case and Build, which is helping kids reconnect with that childhood awe and wonder, curiosity, but also teaching them the skills of critical thinking and helping them reconnect with their creativity so that they can start to carve their own path or create their own path forward so that they can get closer to what they want with the least amount of effort, least amount of risk, and the most amount of options. Instead of playing society's game, play their own game. So I love the work that you're doing. I think you're doing such a fantastic job. Real quick, want to just give you a chance to give a shout out. I know you have a couple members, a couple of our mutual friends on your team. If you'd like to share that, and then we'll get to our last question and start to wrap up our time together.
Yeah, that goes back. It goes back to the community that we have, that we're surrounded with. Just one of the events that we went to, the Gray Summit, and for that TGA held. I just started talking about what I was doing with Base Case and Build, and I talked with Ann Amagrande and Tanner Hanks, and they just loved what I was doing. They didn't even ask about the roadmap or details about it. They just like, hey, we just want to help kids, right? I'm just so fortunate to have a team like that, that they have a bigger mission in life, and they're not looking at like, hey, how am I going to fill my pockets, or how is it going to benefit me? They just want to do good in the world, and that's the type of team that I have, and I'm really thankful for that. That I was actually had the opportunity to be part of a community that I could find people like that.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of rock stars.
Yeah.
So Jay, again, people that are tuning in either aspire to discover and develop the difference only they can make, or they're already doing that, but they want to advance and fly a little bit higher in that endeavor. You've already shared a lot of insight and wisdom that will help people do that. If there was just one last, it can be a quote or one of the principles and practices that you use at Base Case and Build. If there's just one thing that you would share as a piece of parting advice or parting exercise that would help someone fly a little bit higher in the difference only they can make, what would you tell them?
I like what they teach in the Master Apprentice program, that they talk about live to learn, give to earn. And I teach this to the kids as well, is that no matter what situation you're in, if you're on a mountaintop or in a valley, you're always looking to learn and improve, right? You're always gaining knowledge, and then give that knowledge and share that knowledge with others, and that's how you gain wisdom. So
Yes.
I love that, because that's the way Base Case and Build is built. We take the kids from cohort one, we teach them, we tell them, okay, now it's time to share your knowledge with the kids that are coming in into cohort two and three. And a lot of these kids from the prior cohorts are voluntarily coming into the calls because they want to share their knowledge. So I live to learn, give to earn.
I love it. That's awesome. Perfect parting advice. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Jane, I really appreciate you lending us some of your time and attention. We hope today's broadcast motivates you to take a bolder step into your potential and possibility. To keep going, defining, developing, and delivering the difference only you can make, visit creativeonpurpose.com to get started now. If you're watching on social media or YouTube, please leave a comment, share a question, or tell us your biggest aha lesson or takeaway from this conversation. If you're listening as a podcast, please take a minute to give us 5 stars and leave a written review. It really helps more of the right people connect with and benefit from the wisdom being shared by our guests in these conversations. Now, take the insight and inspiration from today's show and play your game all in and full out. Jay, thanks so much for spending some time with us and sharing your experience and wisdom with us.
Thank you for having me. Awesome.